Well, let's say this is a case where a young person was arrested and brought to the juvenile hall. So I would see them within a day or two of their arrival in juvenile hall. And the first thing I would do would be to decide whether they should stay in the juvenile hall while the process goes forward, or whether they could be released to the community, to back home or somewhere. After that decision was made, we would set the case for a hearing to decide whether the young person would plead to something that they were charged with. I would read them what they were charged with. I would appoint a lawyer for them if they didn't have a lawyer, if they weren't paying for a lawyer on their own. And more often than not, because the typical case, there might be several charges and the young person might say, oh, I will admit to one of them. And that would be sufficient for the court to get jurisdiction and then to put the case over for a few weeks to get a report from a probation officer who would talk to the young person, talk to the family, get a background, how were they doing in school, had they been in trouble before, and would make a recommendation to me in a report as to what the consequence should be. And then I would bring the case back and I would talk to the person. They would have read the report. I would hear from their lawyer and I would mete out the consequence. If the young person said, I didn't do these things, or I want you to prove that I did these things, then we would set it for a trial. And we would have a trial and witnesses would be brought in. And after the trial, I would decide whether it was proven that they had done these things. One thing about the juvenile court is there are no jury trials. So you don't have jurors to decide whether the case has been proven or not. The juvenile court judge does all of that on his or her own. Well, when I was in court, I went everywhere. I spoke at schools, I walked the street, because the kids that I dealt with came from everywhere. And so I actually liked seeing them outside of the court system, you know, because that was the other thing for me. When every day I was dealing with students who were having, or young people who were having difficulties, you sometimes start to think, all young people are having difficulties, you know, they're all terrible, they're all doing these things. And then you have to step back and say, you gotta get out there and see what's happening with young people everywhere. And I used to also, when I would speak, I would preface my remarks, because I was typically speaking to service groups, you know, who were worried about what they were reading, worried about what was happening. And I would say, there are about 35,000 young people in 7th to 12th grade in Sonoma County. There are maybe 500 that have had contacts with the juvenile court, and there may be 40 that just drive us crazy. So put it in perspective. Most young people are fine. And I think if you get out there and meet young people, you realize that actually the case. Well, my grandfather, my mother's father, the one who sued the Arkansas School District, and even though, I mean, at that time there was a law called separate but equal, which was the way they looked at segregation, and they thought, well, if things were equal, even though they were separate, and the African Americans were in these schools and the white students were in these schools, then that was okay, that was legal, that was fine. But as you can imagine, they were separate but not equal. They didn't have textbooks like the white students had. The teachers were not paid the same. There was no African American teacher, no matter how long they had taught, that made more than a white teacher, no matter how long they taught. And there were just so many inequities in the resources that they sued for that reason. They lost at the trial court level, but then the case was appealed, and actually Thurgood Marshall, who ultimately became a Supreme Court justice, was working then for an organization called the National Association for the Advancement of Colored People, the n.a.a.c.p, and he came in and took the case, and so they won on the appeal. But then my grandfather was fired, so he couldn't teach anymore. He was a math teacher, and so he became a minister, and he and my grandmother ran a printing a printing shop in their garage, and they printed graduation bulletins for the black schools and funeral notices and those kinds of things. So between that and my grandfather being a minister, they were able to move forward. And he was still in Little Rock during the integration of Central High School, which was a huge thing that happened, and spent a lot of the summer when they were working with the teachers trying to make things go smoothly, and everybody thought it was going to go smoothly, but then the governor of Arkansas kind of got involved in a way that nobody anticipated, and things went downhill pretty rapidly. So my grandfather was pretty courageous, I think. He was not a big man, but in my eyes, he was quite a guy.
Hi, my name is Claudia Silva.
Hi, my name is Jesus Torres.
Hi, my name is Chelsea Valencia.
Hi, my name is Jenny Garcia.
Hi, my name is Luis Vasquez.
Hi, my name is Manny Sanchez.
Hi, my name is Jeanne Buckley.